Hello, thank you everybody for joining. This is the new regulations webinar for Oecotex 2025. Just to know, this is a live webinar. The recording will be sent to all participants around 1 hour after the webinar. And there will be a Q&A section right after we've gone through all the slides. However, you can also add all your questions in the questions tab during the presentations, and we will look at it afterwards. My name is Jonathan Verley. I will be the presenter and the host for this webinar. I'm the product manager of the EcoPassport. With me are also Ms. Fanny Racine, the product manager of Standard 100, and Annika Sauerhöfer, who is the product manager of Made in Green, who will be helping me answer any questions that I might not know the answer to regarding their standards. So let's start off with the limit values for Standard 100, Organic Cotton, Leather Standard, and EcoPassport. At the start of the year, usually there is an update where the Oecotex Association looks at the applicable test criteria, limit values, and requirements for its range of certifications and labels. And here we can give you a complete list of all the changes to the RSL of Standard 100, Organic Cotton, Leather Standard, and EcoPassport. Please be aware that all these changes will go into effect on April 1st, 2025 for all of the different certificates and all different products. So they're not in effect yet. They will be going into effect of April 1st. First of all, we had some changes in existing substances and existing limit values due to regulatory compliance or toxicity concerns or new scientific findings. We have lowered some of our limit values. Probably most relevant here is the decrease of bisphenol A from 100 milligrams per kilograms to 10 milligrams per kilograms for Standard 100, Leather Standard, and Organic Cotton. Please note that there are no changes for EcoPassport for the bisphenol A. Then one of our bigger decreases is from the UV stabilizer UV328 from 1,000 milligrams per kilograms to 1 milligram per kilogram for all different certifications. And for the other UV stabilizers, we have a decrease from 1,000 to 100 milligrams per kilogram. Then there is Methoxychlor, which for 100, Leather, and Organic Cotton has been lowered to 0.01 milligrams per kilograms, and there is no real change for the EcoPassport here. Moving on, we have some PFAS changes as well, or new additions, I should say, regarding new regulations. Some had to be added to our RSL. RSL stands for Restricted Substance List. And these, I won't try to pronounce all of them. It's the NMEFHXSA and PFHXSA, as well as PFHXA and their related substances, as you can see here with the different limit value of 1 and 1 milligram per kilogram. That just the PFHXA itself has a 25 micrograms per kilogram limit. Next, we have some new SVHCs, or substances of very high concerns, that were added. We added these two. But with the usual limit of 1,000 milligrams per kilogram, please be aware that there are changes coming during the year from the ECHA committee. So you might have seen that 6 new ones have been added already to the list. And we will be discussing shortly how much of a textile relevance they have. And some might be added during the next year, or actually before during this year, I mean. Also regarding SVHCs, there is an important change here. The most relevant SVHCs that are listed in the EcoPassport annex with a threshold of are listed with a threshold of 1,000 milligrams per kilogram. At the moment, however, products can be certified with a special restriction to up to 5,000 milligrams per kilogram. This would automatically mean that they cannot achieve the reporting limit, though. After some internal discussion, as of April 1st, 2025, certification of restrictions will not be allowed for SVHC substances. This should further decrease the amount of harmful substances used in textile and textile chemicals. There have also been some other new substances that have been added. Bisphenol AF and bisphenol F were previously under observation and have been added with 1,000 milligram per kilogram for standard 100 and organic cotton, as well as EcoPassport. For the leather standard, bisphenol F still remains under observation, while bisphenol AF is also added with 1,000 milligrams per kilogram. NEP, which was already listed for EcoPassport, has been added again with 1,000 milligrams per kilogram for standard 100 leather and organic cotton. And then we have the two pyrrolidone, the resorcinol, and TPP that were all added with 1,000 milligrams per kilogram, while TCPP was added with 10 milligrams per kilogram for standard 100 leather and organic cotton, but that was already listed for EcoPassport, so no changes there. Furthermore, we have put some new substances under observation. Quick reminder for those who don't know, putting a substance under observation means that we have seen that a regulation for this substance might be coming, or we find that the toxicological profile is high enough or severe enough that we want to find out more about it. We also want to find out how it can be tested for in our laboratories, as well as to see what the textile relevance is over the whole textile and leather supply chain. And certain pesticides that have already been added under organic cotton have now been added as under observation for standard 100, leather standard, and the EcoPassport. Same for N-methylaniline, which has been added to all 4 standards, and the same for 2-butanone-oxime. Being added under observation often means that it will be taken up in later years into the RSL, and while it is under observation, it does not mean that it's restricted. It's just we try to test for it to see the relevance, and sometimes we find out that they aren't relevant or toxic enough to actually be put on the RSL, which is what happened to methyl thiazolinone, which was removed from under observation for standard 100, and diisocyanates that were removed from under observation and were not added to the RSL for EcoPassport. We also have the VOCs, where there is a transition period for VOCs in the standard 100 and organic cotton annex, and that will be over, that actually has been over at the start of this year. That was it for the limits. We'll be moving on to the standard updates of the standard 100 now. First of all, releasable synthetic glitter has been put under observation in an effort to reduce the release of microplastics in the environment. Next, regarding pre-consumer PET recycling, they are not considered anymore as a source of recycling material, and therefore will be banned from the standard 100 recycled materials list. This is because pre-consumer PET bottles should remain within the closed loop of PET bottle recycling systems. Reallocating them to produce garments will increase the demand for virgin PET to create new PET bottles. Then remaining with standard 100, but also affecting organic cotton, we have a new update. And it's in regard to traceability. In the Oecotex label check, to increase transparency, we will now add the name and address of Standard 100 and organic cotton certificates owners to the label check. This will be voluntarily at first, right now, but it will be mandatory as of April 2026. There's also a new requirement for articles made from organic cotton. So there's no mention of organic or GMO anymore that in the Standard 100 certificate. As of April 2025, this was also communicated late summer 2024, if I'm not wrong. There are some exceptions here. First of all, if cotton is certified with organic cotton or organic cotton certification, the cotton content is below 70%, and this has to be then proven with the cotton content test. And both of these have to be mentioned in the scope of the certificate. And transaction certificates are used until the first Standard 100 certificate. There's also a impact from Made in Green here for this. No mention of organic or GMO in Standard 100. So for Made in Green, this means that Standard 100 organic cotton or GMO non-detectable certificates can be used in Made in Green until March 31st, 2026. From this date on, the term organic for articles made of organic cotton shall only be used in the article name and or description of a Made in Green labeled product if the article is covered by the corresponding Oeko-Tex organic cotton certificate. And staying on Made in Green, we can talk about the Made in Green changes. Made in Green standard version 1 has a new look. Just as an FYI, it is now a one language document and doesn't have the 2 language columns anymore. And the new Made in Green standard will additionally be available in French as of Q1 in 2025. First, and to the actual changes, first a reminder regarding our Made in Green main criteria number 4 that concerns supply chain traceability. As our Made in Green customers know, Made in Green is not only promotes responsible manufacturing and safe products, but also product traceability through each production step. The supply chain of a Made in Green label product can be transparently traced in our Oeko-Tex label check. So this is not a new criteria as such, but has been rewritten in the standard for better understanding and visibility. For label owners, we have the requirement that 1, for finished products, the making up facilities plus at least 3 components shall be defined and confirmed. And 2, the semi-finished product, at least for semi-finished product, at least 1 component from a supplier shall be defined and confirmed. For each Made in Green product ID, the corresponding supply chain should be defined by the Made in Green dashboard without branches or alternatives. Let's go into some examples here. Just to demonstrate what these main criteria for and the sentence for finished products, the making up facility plus at least 3 components shall be defined and confirmed actually means. So as you can see here, if a label owner is a vertical facility with the type of operation of making up, at least 3 components shall be defined and confirmed. It doesn't matter if they are tier 1 or a combination of tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, as long as you can see in these examples, the bright green circles here represent each one confirmed component. If the label owner is a vertical facility but does not have making up process in its own operation, the label owner, in this case, the vertical facility, shall add the making up facility plus, again, the at least three confirmed components, as seen again with the green dots. The 3 additional components can be in the same tier as the making up facility or upstreams, the supply chain, meaning a combination of tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, as you can see in the examples. And if the label owner is a brand group, trader, converter, importer, and therefore does not produce themselves, it is again the same scenario as before on the previous slide, where the vertical facility did not have a making up in their own operations. The label owner again shall add the making up facility plus, again, at least 3 confirmed components. And again, those 3 additional components can be tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, as we saw before. And that's it for the Made in Green changes. Let's move on to the standard updates of the leather standard. I think there's only one change here, and it's for the leather origin requirements. So for finished leather made from cows or calf, a proof of origin will be mandatory for all hides for all hide skins and finished leathers. To prove the origin of those articles, it's sufficient to provide invoices from slaughterhouses or import bills containing origin information, for example. The requirement concerning origin will remain optional for any other leather products and for any articles made by any other animals or from any other animals. Moving on to STEP. In 2024, the STEP certification was officially recognized in the ZDHC Supplier to Zero program. So if you're a STEP certified, if a STEP certified certificate holder wishes to join, they should contact their certifying institute. In 2024, the official rollout of the recognition of STEP certification in the ZDHC Supply to Zero program began. And with this recognition, we are pleased to offer a seamless solution for STEP certificate holders who wish to participate in the ZDHC Supplier to Zero program. The recognition facilitates the fulfillment of compliance requirements, reduces efforts, and lowers the cost for STEP certified companies. STEP certified companies can upload their certificate directly to the ZDHC supplier platform and thus benefit from simplified participation with reduced costs. Direct upload of their STEP certification to the ZDHC platform, and if STEP certificate holders wish to participate, they should contact again their certifying institute. There have also been some assessment updates. For a detailed information about the changes, we would ask you to please request them for your responsible institute. As a general overview, 86 questions in total changed. There are 5 additional exclusion criteria and 3 new questions were added covering conditions of machines, subcontractors, and labels. There have also been some updates to the chemical list, one for Annex 3. Some new chemicals, as can be seen here, were introduced. Important to say that these chemicals do not need to be tested in wastewater. And also there were changes in the Annex 6.1 for viscose and modal. The pH value in the wastewater for viscose modal product producers should be between 6 and 9, as in the previous year. However, they are not making a new level classification. For the chemical oxygen demand, or COD, we have adjusted the excellent level from 40 milligrams per liter to 60 milligrams per liter. Now, next, let's look at the changes to the Eco Passport. Here we have a new product group that we're taking up in our scope. Recently, we mainly had textile chemicals, textile specialty chemicals, and leather specialty chemicals, and now we're trying to add commodity chemicals. Commodity chemicals have been separated into virgin, so new, and second life commodity chemicals. So for virgin, the same rules as all other chemicals apply, except only very few tests are required because, well, commodity chemicals are rather simple chemicals, and we don't have to test usually for fungicides or a lot of testing we do. However, for second life chemicals, again, not that many different tests are required, but since the source might change for second life chemicals and the quality might fluctuate more harshly, full testing is required every year instead of every 3 years, as for usual other chemicals, and at least one retest required after half a year. Further changes here is that a new annex detailing all relevant commodity chemicals has been added to the EcoPassport standard, and they have been then separated into the following product categories as that you can see here, and you can also find in the standard document of the EcoPassport. Furthermore, we have also added maintenance chemicals, so that are used in the textile production. It's in the same product group as the commodity chemicals, and the limits and rules are still the same as for other textile and leather chemicals, but the maintenance chemicals have been added to our scope and into the product group 11 and subdivided into lubricants, detergents, and cleaning agents, as well as spot and stain removal. Next, let's talk a little bit about biodegradability. EcoPassport customers now have the chance to highlight the biodegradability of their chemical products on the certificate. For surfactants, water softeners, and complexing agents, this is not a may, but a must. They have to provide proof of biodegradability either by one of the Oeko-Tex institutes or by a verified third party. These rules go into effect as of April 2025. However, for already existing certificates for renewal, you have a grace period of 1 year until April 2026. If you have a product that isn't a surfactant, water softener, or complexing agent, you may still send in the biodegradability report, but this is voluntary, and the biodegradability will then be highlighted on the certificate. Lastly, we have taken some new H phrases as under observation. So EcoPassport already doesn't allow the intentional use of carcinogenic, mutagenic, or reprotoxic H phrases, toxicities, and now we are going to be taking a closer look at the below named H phrases, mostly in regards to toxicity to aquatic life and harm of public health and the environment by destroying ozone in the upper atmosphere. And last but not least, we have the changes of responsible business. There have been risks added based on the EU Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, or CSDDD. Risks as shown on the slide were added here. The right to life, right to liberty and security, the prohibition of arbitrary or unlawful interference with a person's privacy, freedom of thought, conscience and religion, housing and facilities, and the right of the child to the highest attainable standard of health. For the social aspects and the environmental aspects of biological diversity, endangered species, wetlands, and natural heritage. The inclusion of these risks in the risk analysis and other due diligence obligations is voluntary up to and including 2026, but then will become mandatory as of 2027. And details to each of these listed risks can be found in the standard document. The supply chain law at the EU level plays an important role for Oeko-Tex responsible business. And accordingly, we align our terminology and definitions of supply chains with the EU CSDDD. However, this does not result in any substantive changes to the scope of the application or a different understanding of the meaning of supply chain. It's just clearer terminology, as you can see here, for upstream and downstream. So upstream, the operations of a company's upstream partners involved in procuring goods or services such as design, extraction, sourcing, et cetera, and downstream, the operations of a company and its direct downstream partners involved in the distribution, transport, and storage of the company's products. And with that, we're already at the end of the presentation. And I'm hoping that you don't have too many questions, but if there are any that I cannot answer, we will also be trying to send them to you in the coming days. But let's take a look at the questions that we already have. And now is the time that you can type your questions into the question tab. So first of all, the first question is it possible for you to send us this presentation? Yes, it is. We will be sending at least the recording of the presentation in about an hour. There's also, okay, the rest is about there's some echo. And again, about sharing the PowerPoint presentation. For the leather standard, is goat leather also in the scope of proof of origin? If it wasn't before, it is now. This was only for cow and calf. What about the transaction certificate of organic, of OT or Oikotex organic cotton? I don't know the exact what is asked here. Could maybe Fanny, are you unmuted? Maybe you can answer.
I'm here if you can hear me, but we cannot see the question. Sorry, so if you could just read out completely, it would help.
The question is for the leather stand, no, sorry, the next one, what about transaction certificate on organic cotton?
Okay, yeah, thanks. So no substantial changes on transaction certificate. A new version has been published and will probably be used by now by the institutes, but it's just some visual change, aesthetic changes or typos corrected, so no change for the customers.
Okay. Next question, what method do you use for determination of 2-pyrrolidone? I don't know off the top of my head. Fanny, do you know it right now?
No, not without checking. I can check if you'd like to.
Yes, why don't you check and I'll go through the questions. If we don't find it in the meantime, we will try to add it to the unanswered Q&As. Next is, hi, I just want to rediscuss category of 100% organic and 70% organic certificates. Do they need to be considered in the same or two different certificates will be applied? Again, a organic cotton question. Sorry, I'm going to have to refer to you, Fanny.
No worries. So if you have one article that is 100% organic cotton, it's going to have the organic cotton one. And if you have one that is, let's say, 80% organic cotton and the rest is polyester, it's going to be organic cotton blended, and you cannot put both inside an organic cotton blended. So you will need two certificates for this case.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we have a question about the, can you tell a little bit about the pre-consumer PET bottle issue? As far as I know, there, for example, have been issues where we have had producers that have produced everything like textiles from PET bottles, and on the one hand that has been taken away from the PET bottle loop, where we try to, like countries or systems try to get have to produce as little as possible new PET bottles, where they try to keep it all within one closed loop of recycling. And we have also seen issues where they are companies that produce PET bottles now just so they can sell them to other companies that produce textiles so that they can claim that their products are from used PET bottles. So in both cases, we're not really that happy about it. And it's an already functioning system there, so we do not want to take away from that. If I have an Oikotex passport Eco Passport certificate until December, do I need to ask for a new certificate? No, not really. If it's okay until December 2025, it will be allowed until December 2025. If this is in regards to biodegradability, you will also have a grace period that you can renew in December as well, without having to prove biodegradability. Why don't have a supply chain traceability or transaction certificate for standard 100 certificate? Funny, again, sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to answer this.
No worries. So question was why we don't have more traceability in standard 100, for example, like we have in organic cotton, right?
I think so. So the question verbatim is why don't have a supply chain traceability or transaction certificate for standard 100 certificate?
Yep. So we do have a bit of supply chain traceability via the base certificates that are used, but because the fraud issue is much less big in normal clothing than in organic cotton, we think that this is not necessary, and this would just make the certification more complicated and less attractive, and thus also less visible.
Okay. Next question is whether biodegradability of the chemicals should be tested and informed on process of Eco Passport certification. So the biodegradability concerns the actual product that is to be Eco Passport certified, and if it's in one of those as surfactants, what was it, water softeners and complexing agents, then it should be having to be proven that it's biodegradable, and the biodegradability can be proven either by having it tested by one of our institutes or another third party that is trustworthy. Next, what is the right of children getting highest standard of health included in social? I'm assuming this is for responsible business. I don't have an answer for that right now. We will try to get the question sorted and get an answer to everyone that we couldn't give an answer to right now. Next is, can you explain a little bit more about the chemicals under observations? Are they banned chemicals? Very good questions. No, they are not banned. They are not restricted. As of now, you can add them freely to the certifications where they aren't restricted. If they're only under observation, it just means that we as Oikotex have taken a special interest to them. We will be testing for them more frequently, for one, to see if our testing methods are correct, and two, to see if there is even any relevance in the textile industry there. And we will also be looking at the toxicological profile very much closely. Next is for new Eco Passport application products of softeners, Is the biodegradability certificate needed to be submitted now or only if application is after the April 2025? So at the moment, it's still after April 2025 if it's a new EcoPassport application. And well, let's put it like this. If you apply before April 2025, but you can't have the certificate valid before April 2025, you will require the biodegradability. But if you can have the certificate valid before April 2025, then you can still do it without biodegradability. And if it's a renewal, you can do it until April 2026. Can you share the session link? I'm sorry, I cannot. Maybe somebody, one of the others can share it. Annika or Fanny. Next, if recertification is required before April 2025, will the testing include the updates outlined in the presentations? If not, will certifications not be able to be demonstrated compliant with current regulations? I'm not 100% sure I understand the question, but I'm just going to explain the rules. If the recertification, the testing, and new validity as an issuing of the certificate can all be done before April 2025, the old limits are still in effect. And as soon as the certification is on April 1st, 2025, the new restrictions, the new limits are taken into effect. Next question, does existing certificates begin invalid after 2025? No, existing certificates, as always, as every year, still are valid. They run with their runtime of a year, except for STEP, where they have a 3-year runtime. For Standard 100, organic cotton, leather, and EcoPassport, after the 1 year with the renewal, they will have to be tested for the new parameters and new limits. VOC and PFAS restrictions for Oeko-Tex Standard 100 will remain the same. Most of them, yes. For PFAS, we have added 3 new substances, and PF, I don't remember it by heart, but we have also added some related substances as well. Can you further explain about the pre-consumer PET bottles? I think I've already done that. Next, we produce products with 100% PET and are certified Standard 100, mentioning using 100% recycled. Is our certification invalid for the products now, or how does it work? It's not invalid. It will be, as I said before, the rules are going into effect as of April 1st, and your certificate will retain its validity until it is time for retesting. Maybe Fanny, you can explain if I'm assuming the product can still be Standard 100 certified, just not under the recycling.
Exactly. So it will still be able to be certified Standard 100, just the mentioned recycling will not be there anymore.
Thank you very much.
And
we
one
have
is on here.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jonathan. I just have the answer for the 2-pyrrolidone. It will be tested with solvent residues.
Thank you very much. I hope that answers the questions. We have the next question here. We have a certificate of Oeko-Tex Standard 100 Annex 6 until December 2025. Do we need to retest our product again? No. Same question as before, same answer. We will not do any retesting for any of these limits. Your certificate will retain its validity until it needs to be reissued again, or renewed, I mean. Next question. Is the new limit change for standard 100 are adopted according to new regulations from any country? Well, we try to stay in tune with, first and foremost, the EU, so the ECHA and REACH regulations. However, we also take into account other countries and try to be as strict and updated as possible. Next question is biodegradability measured only on the chemicals in the fabric, or can also the fabrics be assessed for biodegradability? So at the moment, it's only for EcoPassport, as far as I'm aware, and so it's only for the chemicals themselves. Next, can you explain the excerpt procedure? Does it change from 2024 to 2025? Not that I'm aware of. I don't know about any changes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Annika and Fanny.
It's correct. No changes, at least not standard 100.
Okay. So next question: are there certain chemicals covered under Oecotech certification that would not require additional laboratory tests? Is there a list of these? No, not really. That is our philosophy and our take that all products should be tested. The only exception I can think of is if it's a traded article that has already been tested beforehand, so it already has a pre-certification. But even in those cases, we do some spot checks. Next question is probably one for you again, Fanny. If our product is made of 100% cotton, but not organic cotton, do we need to acquire the organic cotton certificate, or can we proceed with our standard 100 certificate?
You can proceed with the standard 100. If your product is not made of organic cotton, you cannot get the organic cotton anyway. So no, cotton is not banned from standard 100. We're just not going to mention organic cotton anymore in the standard 100. You can also still certify your organic cotton under standard 100. It will just not have the mention organic anymore. Except the exceptions that Jonathan listed before.
Yeah. If the visit from auditor for STEP is arranged in the end of April 2025, does this mean that a new regulation will be taken into account? As far as I'm aware, yes. As soon as the validity date of the certificate starts after April 2025, April 1st, 2025, you will have to comply with the new rules and regulations. Next question: is it correctly understood that the changes are to be made by manufacturers before April 26, or was just applicable for parts of the certification? That's for specific things. So most of it is for April 2025. For April 2026, it's just, as far as I know, the grace period, as well as I think for responsible business, it's for until 2027 even. I think there was one more thing that only goes into effect in 2026, but I can't remember right now. You will probably see it in the presentation later. Next question: regarding the transaction certificates for Oecotech's organic cotton, could we have an idea of how much each one will cost? Fanny?
Sure. The costs for organic cotton are the same then for standard 100. The only difference is the transaction certificates. I cannot give you a price for the transaction certificates, but they are paid individually, so you will have to pay for each transaction that you issue. But for the rest, it's all the same then for standard 100. Same, you have base certificates that can reduce the costs. You can use EcoPassport chemicals that can reduce the costs. Yep, that's about it. So no big difference from standard 100 except for the transaction certificates.
Thank you very much.
To get a price for those, you can always contact your institute.
So next question is, what will happen if legacy products with no recipe changes do not meet new requirements? So they will again stay valid, but they might not be able to renew. Next, are there any new regulations currently under review and being prepared for next year? Yes, of course, we're always reviewing new products. As said before, we are currently monitoring the new SVHCs from ECHA and looking at their textile relevance, for example, to see if they should be added. This will also most likely happen in this year still. So as of April 2025, they will be added. For next year, we have different projects in the pipeline, but nothing that we can share at the moment. Next, is it for post-consumer recycled PET can still include in standard 100 certificate scope? Yes, just not with the recycled.
Sorry, Jonathan, post-consumer can still be included also with recycled, just not pre-consumer.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's good that you interrupt if I'm saying something wrong. Next, could you explain regarding the check label, the visibility of address for the label check, the visibility of address and email of the certificate's owner on one example? What does it mean? Does the owner have to insert that data? I'm not 100% sure what it's going to look like. Maybe Fanny, you already know if you've had talks with the IT.
So it's already in place. However, I don't think we have any new certificate right now that check this box. So you will see in your application form when you renew your certificate, or if you already want to have this change done now, you can contact your institute and they can already change for you now. There's a box in the application form where you can consent to having your data on the label check or not. This will mean that basically the name of the company and the address of the company that is on the certificate, so these ones that are given in the application form basically are on the label check. So if you wish to have a different address, I'm not sure this is a possible change, but the ones that are on the certificates should be displayed then in the label check.
Thanks. Next question. Why are perfluor N-butanoic acid and perfluor N-pentaonic listed as C9C14 perfluorinated carboxylic acid? Good questions. We'll have to check up on that and maybe put it, if we see that this is wrong, we will make a double take and add it to our corrections for the next version of our standards. Thank you for bringing this up. Next, our standard 100 certificates expires on April 30th, 2025. Does this mean the new limit values already apply? So they will apply for your renewal, not for the certificate that you have right now. If we have pre-consumer recycled PET and we want to certify by Oekotex, what certificate can be chosen? I'm assuming standard 100, just the regular standard 100. Next, we have long waiting times to receive the report. Do you have a plan to expedite the testing process? I'm unsure what you mean. Like, do you mean the test report? We try to give you the testing report as quickly as possible. Sometimes we run into delays, of course, if a lot of new certifications are done or if there are issues during testing. But our institutes are working hard on getting better systems in place, and to the best of my knowledge, they have been getting better and better as volume of certification has been increasing steadily over the last few years. Next question. Is it mandatory from next year for EcoPassport certificate to write BOD on label Not clear, please explain. No. So I'm assuming this has to do with biodegradability. It is not required, it's voluntary, except for softeners, complexing agents, so water softeners, complexing agent, and surfactants. For those specific products, if it's a new certification, you will have to prove biodegradability, and then it will be shown on the certificate for those products that they are biodegradable. Next question, does the criteria for VOC change for the owners if we are certified in accordance with Annex 4? Funny?
Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Oh, yes. Does the criteria for the VOC changes for the owner change if we are certified in accordance to Annex 4?
So if you're certified according to Annex 4, we had this transition period for VOCs that was until 1st of January. It doesn't matter who the owner of the certificate is. The limit values are just going to take effect on the 1st of January, which I think is the only exception to the other changes that are 1st of April.
Thank you. Next questions. Our test lab has introduced the new rules for Oeko-Tex 100 from 1st 2025. Are they allowed to do this? I don't know from which testing laboratory you are. They are already allowed to test for those limits, but you don't have to. So if you as a company want to ask one of our institutes, hey, we already want to make sure that we're in line, even though we're going to certify it earlier, that is absolutely your prerogative. That way you can be sure that renewals will also still be in line, and in case that the certification to progress takes longer than expected. Next question, will the new standard also be released? It is already downloadable on our website. You can also ask your institute for a copy, but if you go to our website under the download section, all new standards, all new application forms should be available already. Next question, does Standard 100 Annex 6 will not be applicable for recycled products anymore? So there are no changes there except for PET, as far as I'm aware.
Yep, no other changes than for PET.
Yep. Okay, good. Next question regarding PET as well. So if our recycled products are based on PET, the PET will no longer be considered recyclable, even if the products are certified as a recyclable product supplier. If it's pre-consumer PET, then yes. If it's post-consumer, then no, as far as I'm aware. Is that correct, Fanny?
Yes, correct, perfect.
Next. In the case of traders under the OEM protocol in textile printing industry, do the traders also have to conduct biodegradability reports? As long as there is no change in the overall product, as long as nothing is added or subtracted, and it's just a traded article there or traded chemical there, the last report stands. Next, to be more specific for product manufacturers who have EcoPassport certificate from 2026, will it be mandatory for all finished products to mention biodegradability? No, again, it's just for the surfactants, water softeners, and complexing agents. Next question, how much it can cost the fabric testing for which the supplier cannot provide the Oeko-Tex certificate for Standard 100? I think that really depends on the fabric itself, what the price is. And it's also not part of the new regulations discussion. And here is a follow-up regarding PFAS changes for Oecotech Standard 100. So the changes, I think, won't really influence the testing there because it's still in the same PFAS testing scheme or methodology. It's just that we now look for additional substances. Are there any requirements to meet for biodegradability testing for chemicals for EcoPassport certification? Yes, there are, and they are mentioned in the standard of the EcoPassport. Next, could you please explain about Made in Green labels updates about mentioning name and address and components? Annika, if you are online, could you answer this question?
Yeah, for sure. So this is actually not a new criteria. It has already been in place, but we were asked regularly about what we actually mean by that. So we tried to rephrase to make it more clear for everybody. So if you have a Made in Green label for finished products, you have to add at least 3 components for this finished product. So the making up facility plus at least 3 components. They can come from the same supplier or from different supplier in the same tier or also upstream the supply chain. And regarding the name that will be displayed on the label check, this is actually up to you. We have a function where you can decide before you issue or create the label that you want or you do not want to display the name of your suppliers on the label check. For more details, you can ask your supporting institute. We have a customer manual describing step by step how this can be done.
Thank you very much. Next, someone said that they're unable to find the component N-methyl FH XSA as well as it's the same one. That can't be found in the standard 100 annex. Thank you for bringing that up. We will check again to make sure it can be found. It might be that it's listed under various so that you can't find the substance as such, because listing all the PFAS is, I mean, it's possible, but then we would probably have to add 300 pages to the annex. Next, you mentioned the following point: transaction certificates are used until the first standard 100 certificates. Does this mean if we have a standard 100 certificate for our enterprise already, we don't need a transaction certificate? Funny.
Sure. So this is in the case where you have organic cotton in your standard 100 certificate and you would like to mention organic cotton, which means you also have less than 70% of organic cotton, and the organic cotton is Oecotech's organic cotton certified. In this case, because organic cotton asks for transaction certificates along the full supply chain, the part where you're going to move from the organic cotton supply chain to the standard 100 supply chain is going to be where you need the last transaction certificate, which means from the last member of the organic cotton supply chain until the first member of the standard 100 supply chain, you will need transaction certificates. But if you're further within the supply chain, for example, you're the brand and the change was made at the weaving, then you don't need a transaction certificate. I hope this helps.
Okay. Thank you. Next, how many weeks prior to the expiration date should the Oecotech certification renewal be submitted? In general, the institute will contact you for this, but we would say 2 months is usually a good time to start. Usually a certification, especially renewal, will only take 1 month or around that time, but better safe than sorry if you start 2 months in advance. Will you still approve new biocides no matter of critical voices? It depends. We won't add them to the RSL just because people say we should add them, but if we have received well-founded argumentation, scientific findings, and regulations, we will take them up for consideration. We will discuss them in our technical meetings with other experts, and as has often happened before, we might decide to take them up, or we don't see either the textile relevance, we don't see the toxicity or need to add them to our RSL. Next, do the Oekotex accredited laboratories now have the capacity to test complex formulation for biodegradability or single-use substances? I'm not sure if every institute, but our institutes do have the possibility to test for biodegradability for chemical products for the EcoPassport. Next question is, where can I find this list? I'm not sure which list you're referring to. If it's for the biodegradability requirements, maybe I can just quickly say what those are. So 98% of the components of softeners and complexing agents must be readily biodegradable under aerobic conditions, inherently biodegradable and or eliminable in sewage treatment plants. Surfactants must be readily biodegradable under aerobic conditions, and non-ionic and cationic surfactants must also be biodegradable under anaerobic conditions. Next, if organic cotton is tested as conventional under Standard 100, is it still allowed to mention organic on the packaging of a product? Fanny, I'm going to refer to you again.
No worries, yes, we cannot forbid you from using organic on your packaging. Just we will not vouch anymore for the fact that it's organic, but in case you have, for example, a concurrence of ours that is stating that your is organic, you can still continue using their labels.
Thank you. This is from the same person who asks, where would I find this list? Are there certain chemicals covered under Oekotex certification that would not require additional laboratory testing? Is there a list of these? Where would I find this list? Again, this does not exist unless the product is already certified. If you're referring to that, you can use our buying guide to see which products specifically are already certified under EcoPassport. If you buy or trade one of those specific ones and do not perform any changes to those products, testing is almost not required anymore. We just perform some spot checks just to make sure that nothing has changed either during shipment or that nothing has been added or changed in the product, and it remains EcoPassport ready. That is our time. I've already gone over the time a little bit, but I think it was good to go through all of these questions. I can't see any new ones, so I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Fanny and Annika for helping me with the different questions and your interest in the webinar. If you have 5 minutes to spare, I really appreciate if you could fill out the anonymous survey here. You can find, so we can find out if you like this webinar or how we can improve ourselves. The link will be included in the email we send you within the hour. That should also have the presentation on it. Thank you very much and goodbye.